The blossom is going. It's been shed by the trees here on May the 4th, 2023, just outside Shrewsbury Library. So welcome back to Third Rate Thursday, and we are here on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'd forgot about that. For Third Rate Thursday. And we're here once again. Well, not once again, we have never actually done it here, Third Rate Thursday here, but we're here in cinematic mode. I don't know if you noticed, thought I'd give it a try. And we're here to do some admin and you know, our usual Third Rate Thursday stuff here today. But unfortunately, I might as well tell you, I had something completely different planned for Third Rate Thursday today. But then when I was making sure everything was right before shooting a bit earlier today, I realised everything was wrong. So I had to abandon that mini project. But we come up with something else to talk about this week, because today I've been in town and I've actually been into Shrewsbury Library. I've reacquainted myself with that institution. I've got a new library card, and I'm free to loan up to 10 books at a time. But the reason I did reacquaint myself with the library was because there was a particular author that I'd been recommended recently to check out. Dennis Waitley, I don't know if you've heard of him. He apparently was the longest. He was in print consistently longer than any other author of the 20th century. But he's not in print now, and there was absolutely nothing at Shrewsbury Library. And I'm not knocking the library service really, because it's been a long time since I've been in there, and I was actually sort of surprised that there is only sort of recent fiction books in there. There is not a lot, and I'm not really a big fan of fiction books in general, unless it's a particular subject I'm interested in, and especially ones from the last 20 years. I don't know, I might be wrong, but I tend to think they're just throwaway trash, most of them. Like so much media in the 21st century. Of course, not third-rate content, no way. But so I was a bit disappointed. I don't think I'll be using the library a great deal. Especially, I won't be using the fiction section at all. Because it took me back to like 15 years ago, last time I used the library. I wanted to get a couple of Michael Moorcock books that I hadn't read out, and they didn't have any because he's an old 20th century author really, so they don't have anything in depth. So I've been around all the second-hand bookshops in Shrewsbury, and I did get one. I don't know if you can see that in the cinematic mode, but yeah, I did get a book, and I got it from Oxfam. Should have gone there first really. But today's talking point is, do you actually read physical books in 2023? Would you use the library regularly? And if you do, what books do you get out? And if you don't, anyway, tell us if you don't read books. I mean, I don't read as many books as I used to. I used to always be reading a book, fiction or anything, but sort of the last 10, 15 years, it's quite rare that I read books, maybe 3 or 4 a year, that bad, on my Kindle generally as well, which isn't to me the ideal way to get them. But it's just convenience, you know, you're sitting there, sometimes you're looking at your Kindle, you think, should I get it now? Yeah, just get it. And there it is. But you can't lend the book if you haven't got the physical copy to anyone. And I don't know, there's something not quite as satisfying about not owning the physical copy, as I said. But anyway, tell us what you read, if you do read, if you don't read, whether you use the library or whether you're like me and don't think it's much cop in 2023. Yeah, so that's this week's talking point. So moving on, let's open up our third-rate mailbag and see what correspondence we had on the comment section of last week's Third Rate Thursday, because we had a few, starting with John Bradbury. I don't know if you remembered, I asked if you still use pubs or you don't use pubs, or what you drink, or anything pub or alcohol related. And of course John Bradbury starts us off. He said he loved the Shropshire pub scene when he used to live in Shropshire. I used to drink too much beer. These days I drink spirits, most of which I make myself. Very interesting. And it's going to save you quite a bit of money, I imagine, there, John. So yeah, nice to see that someone who probably remembers the classic pub scene of Shrewsbury of the 1960s and 70s. John may well have some real good stories to tell. But then we had David Bagley. Dave says he's got me a pint of Telegraph. Got me a pint of causing at the Telegraph. So I'll have to call in there sometime and claim that. So thank you, Dave, if you have bought me one. And then we got Neil Stokes next out of the mailbag. He says he can't remember the last time he was in a pub. But after 10 years of taxi driving in Shrewsbury for Aces and Comet and seeing what alcohol does to people, it makes him glad he's teetotal. And I can absolutely understand that, Neil. I imagine anybody who's in contact with very drunk people a lot, it's going to put them off, because especially if you're sober, it's kind of like you're on a completely different planet to people who are intoxicated. So yeah, I very much can understand that, Neil. And Mrs. R, it's very bulging mail sack this week. Mrs. R says she used to drink in the Nags Head and the Yorkshire House, two pubs that I've used quite a bit over the years, and I've actually filmed them both on Third Rate Content. I'll leave a link to the relevant videos in the description box. And she sometimes used the Masonic Arms or the other Colon pubs if I wanted to walk home. Obviously, I think Mrs. R lived around Colon back when she did live in Shrewsbury. But once she moved up to the Copthorne side, I would sometimes head to Frankwell. I forget the bar almost on the bridge was called. In my day that was called Frank's, but I'm not sure what it was called in the 1980s. But as I have got older, she says, the hangovers have got longer and yuckier. Yeah, I can empathise with that. I can manage half a pint of cold cider on a nice sunny day, and for some reason it tastes better out of a plastic glass. That's quite interesting. Or a nice gin and tonic, but that's about it. Yeah, refreshing gin and tonic, just one or two, as long as you don't go over like 5 of them. Yeah, I can understand that too, Mrs. R, so thanks. And who else we got? And I think that is it for this week. Oh, Ethical Bunny says she's not a massive pub goer. However, it depends on the vibe. Yeah, I can see that. Love live music, and I wish there was more on around Shrewsbury. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. Also, the Dolphin pub's good, and I do like a gin, very much like Mrs. R, at the Boathouse in summer. And the Boathouse, especially, I mean, like a day like today, we're really getting into the summer vibe now. The Boathouse is lovely, but the Dolphin as well. And I was in the Dolphin the other day, and I will say that the sort of wooden decking, the timber decking at the back, really makes the most out of a small space, and it's a lovely space to spend an hour or two sitting out and watching the trains pass, or the fire engines going in and out of the station. But yeah, some varied opinions, and yeah, I can understand all of them. And like I say, I don't go to the pub that much these days myself, but I don't mind a beer, especially in summer, if with good company. So that was this week's admin caught up with, but we'll move on now and finish up Third Rate Thursday with our Thursday throwback, our kind of retro third rate content video, which is quite apt for today, with the very late spring, early summer weather starting to emerge. Is a walk up the pier, a walk up Llandudno Pier in North Wales. It's a part of the world I very much like, actually. I think it's lovely. I haven't been for a few years now, but join Third Rate Content and we'll have a walk up the pier and see what we can see. I haven't actually watched that video for a while myself, but I'm going to watch it as soon as I get home, honestly. And getting on to the final bit of admin today, this week's Third Rate Content main release, which will be released as usual Sunday lunchtime, which is any time between 11:30 and 1, will be our trip on Good Friday, a few weeks ago now, to Morton Corbet Castle. A really interesting walk around it. We learned some of the history of the multi-phased shell really that's left now, but obviously it evolved over time, which we'll learn about. We'll learn about how it's haunted, and we'll also go to the church next door. I've actually forgotten what it's called. How bad is that? And have a look around that. Very interesting. And the churchyard, and it was a glorious early spring day. Unfortunately, the weather did drop off for a couple of weeks afterwards, but I'm just hoping that this taste of summer that we've got now is going to stay with us for a while. So that was Third Rate Thursday, for Thursday the 4th of May 2023. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, or think about subscribing if you haven't already. It's very much appreciated, and I'll thank anybody who has already, and I'll thank anybody who's thinking about it and does in advance. Don't forget to leave a comment. I do love a good comment. And if I don't see you soon, I'll see you 3 times as soon on Third Rate Content and Third Rate Thursday. Bye bye.